time you got?
It is still 19 till. Yeah.
What's that, Scott?
Hey, how are you, man? Good seeing you. Thank you. Serving now.
That's good. I'm glad. I appreciate your being there. Thank you. I can't believe I carry up with this guy.
Remember, I'm in bad health. How are you, man? Good.
The 2001 Cotton Ball, I was wearing my own shirt underneath my Razorback shirt.
I'm not surprised by that.
Singing Boomer Sooner to myself. Yeah.
I can't see across the room without mine. That's why I got them on now.
I tell you, that stat about Henderson State, that
30 straight now on the
that's
road.
crazy.
It's unbelievable.
It's crazy.
Yeah. And it was a 6-0 team they beat, on Saturday.
It is.
I picked them. I said they don't believe they can lose on the road. RJ told me they didn't have a chance when I was in there Thursday morning. I have more faith than you do.
Well, glad that's over with. I know.
Today is Wes is actually working.
Sure is. Glad you reminded me.
Yeah, he didn't want that down.
Yeah. Austin, did you get a chance to visit at all? Yeah. Did you get a chance to visit at all?
What's that, Ryan?
Go back.
Okay. Say hi to Coach.
Hey, Coach. Good to be here. Appreciate you.
Good. Listen, this is Steve. I heard great things. Yeah. What time you got?
I've got 15 till. Got about 5 minutes. Yeah. Next week's Hall of Fame, right?
No, it's Blake Anderson. I thought it was.
Next week. Okay.
Yeah. I thought it was.
I got to know which weekend to prepare, not prepare.
Yeah.
Blake's next week. Okay.
They're still there?
I'll connect the dots.
got to say about this one? Hey, we look
Just
at
the
it
facts.
over
You know, I really can't stand that whole victory crap, though. It's when your fan base is becoming that big, you start all that. I think there were people, but that's pretty sad to get beat by that. Talking about
Someone was going to get it. Okay.
it's easy to become Vanderbilt or Kentucky in football. Yeah.
We used better be.
I'd rather people be mad still.
Better be Carolina than Arkansas State.
You'll have plenty of room to spread out for that game. Let me shoot a cannon through that stadium and not hit anybody.
Coach, I appreciate that so much. It's going to go next to one I've got. It's Living Hiking Trophy. Thank you so much, sir. It's a pleasure to have you here. Thank you.
So you're going next week, you said, at ASU coach. On purpose?
I gotta go to Massachusetts in October.
Oh, okay.
I have to meet which one I want.
Yeah.
And I either have to do it before October 15th, sit back and have a week to work,
Yeah.
or I got to do it after October.
Oh, okay. Gotcha. Gotcha. So you're not anti-issue, that's just the one you pick. Yeah. Yeah, in that 1 year. Gus, he's 1 year. Yeah, he's 1 year. Yeah. Gotcha.
But I say things I think I can preach twice. Jesus says to me,
Exactly. The name Stoops fired him that out of his
What time you got, Rex?
It is 11:10. Let's do it.
Okay. Coach, you're good. You ready to rock and roll this thing? You got plenty of time to eat, so we got to take care of some club business. You good to go, ladies? Chris, Adam? Got to go, And what service is that? I didn't get that when you guys came down. Holy cow.
Basil puts you to work now?
Wow,
They
no,
let you
listen,
sit
I
up
don't get
here.
my coffee delivered.
You got to serve coffee. It really is.
All right, check. 1, 2, 1, 2. All right, I know we got some folks who are still looking for food, maybe. It is a packed house today. It is great to have you here. I think this is a record for someone other than a Razorback to have the team colors flying at the Little Rock Touchdown Club, but we welcome that. So if I were to say, because we say woo pig suey for Razorbacks, if I was to say boomer, holy cow, boomer. What a welcome, Coach Stoops, my goodness. Wow. I guess we could have tried that with Coach Spurrier and the Gator Chomp, but we didn't do that. It is great to have you here. I hope you realize how blessed you are to be alive and to be out here, regardless of how your team did this weekend. Mondays is the place to be here. There's a Little Rock Touchdown Club, and we're glad you're here. Got a capacity crowd. Can't wait to hear Coach Stoops talk today. And Gary Underwood, by the way, first time ever we've had OU colors flying at the head table. Gary pulls out the OU shirt, so how about that? That's okay. We're included. We're welcome. That's all right. We do that. God even loves us sooner. Gary, would you come up and lead us in a word of prayer?
He stole my boomer. Man, I was going to do that. But I tell you, we do have some other non-prayer related business we got to take care of. David, come here. Ready? Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear David. Happy birthday to you.
That's all. Thank you.
There you go. Y'all missed mine 2 weeks ago. That's all right. Let's pray. Dear Heavenly Father, we thank you so much for the beautiful day that you've given us to enjoy and to serve you in. Lord, we thank you for the opportunity to gather together with friends and make new friends and have some fellowship together. Thank you for the food, and we ask you to use it to give us strength to serve you today. In your Son's precious name we pray. Amen.
Thanks, Gary. Yeah, I hated to go past my number last year. 53 just came in and went like the wind there, Rex. Dadgummit. Hey, listen, we want to thank you all for coming so much. We could not do it without your support, now without you buying memberships and without you buying tickets. This is a teamwork effort. How many of you had a chance, if you came last week and you enjoyed Barrett Jones, let me hear you. Was he not outstanding? Coach, you talk about a fine young man, Barrett Jones, two-time All-American, three-time national champion at Alabama. And I was going to encourage you. I know we had a couple guys come up to me and said they let their kids, they went to the Touchdown Club website and played his speech for their kids. So if you've got a young person, it would be worth their 15, 20 minutes because he was outstanding, and he loved being here for the club as well. Also, next week, Blake Anderson. Let's be here to support Arkansas State. They're having a decent year, 2-0 in the conference so far. Year after that, you got, the week after that, we got the Southwest Conference Hall of Fame inductee, so make sure and make your reservations for that. If you've got a buddy or friend that wants to see Coach Stoops or hear Coach Stoops and they can't be here, before you turn off your phone, you can text them and let them know they can either turn on 103.7 The Buzz, so he'll be carrying most of his speech live. They can go to lrtouchdown.com. That's our Touchdown Club website, and it streams high definition there. You can go to the Touchdown Club app on your smartphone, thanks to Farm Bureau of Pulaski County, who sponsor that. So there is ways you can let folks know about Coach Stoops speaking today if they can't be here today. I want to thank our sponsors real quick. We could not do that without any of this without them. Twin City Limousine, Dale Bennett, and of course, Greg Hatcher. And I have to say, Greg, thank you so much for your support of the club. Not only do you provide that transportation service to us, it's Greg's company, and Dale does a great job, but you do a lot more behind the scenes, and we appreciate your support of the Touchdown Club. Ironically, of all the times, we get to honor his son again today. I think that's really cool with Coach Stoops being here as well. And we've got a unique thing today. We've got two honorees, not just one, two. And when you hear the numbers, it's it's mind-boggling numbers we've ever had here at the Touchdown Club, and that's saying a lot. So thank you, Twin City Limousine. We're proud to be called the Little Rock Touchdown Club. Thank you, Little Rock Convention Visitors Bureau, Gretchen Hall, David Russell. CJRW, Mark Raines, Dan Sawyer, Darren Gray, thanks so much for your support. We got the Cliff Harris Award coming up. CJRW helps us with that. We cannot do as good a job as without their help, and they do a magnificent job, one of the great advertising agencies and marketing agencies in the South. 103.7 The Buzz. Coach, were Pat and Justin okay with you? You know, Justin's an old Iowa State guy.
I know, and it took him a while to bring that up.
It took him a while to bring that up. Of course, Coach is an Iowa guy. But great to have the Buzz here today, as always. Arkansas Urology. It is the largest urology practice in Arkansas. Please go get checked up, guys and ladies. Scott Davis, thank you for your support. 8 locations across Arkansas, 17 physicians. Please take advantage of them, Arkansas Urology. War Memorial Stadium, don't forget to rent out War Memorial any way you want to. They got for parties, you name it, for meetings. In addition to the games they have there, we thank Ron Sally and John Latch for their support at War Memorial Stadium, the Grand Old Lady. Farm Bureau, Pulaski County, Shauna Hopper, Stephen Reicher, Todd Dennis, Home Auto Life or whatever. Give those guys a chance to give you some quotes on those things, and they're good people. They'll take real good care of you. Farm Bureau of Pulaski County. Always great to have them here, and we appreciate their support. Dairy Queen of Arkansas, Blake Lively, Nelson Lively, Todd Denton. I think we have an injured Lively here in the studio, at the meeting today. Well, hopefully you'll be okay. They've got their new location on 12th Street. Go by and check it out. They got how many menu items you got at Dairy Queen? Take a guess. What would you say? Over 100 items at Dairy Queen. So if you're on a diet, keep driving. If you're not, stop by and get you something to eat at Dairy Queen of Arkansas. Do want to thank Gen Wealth Financial Advisors, John Shrewsbury, Janet Walker, Scott Emmett. Scott, where Scott's going with the beard? He says he will not shave off his beard until Arkansas wins a game. So it could be this week. So don't take any advice from Scott on his shaving habits. But when it comes to financial advice, get ready for thefuture.com as their website. They're good people. They can help you with your money. Make sure and take advantage of them. Glad to have Gen Wealth Financial Advisors with us. Big Red Stores, founded by David and Doug Hendricks. Great to have them, a family business. Just opened their 36th store 37th is going to be coming. Where are my big red guys? Where are they at? Right there. They're all in red. That makes sense. Great to have you guys here. Appreciate your support of the Touchdown Club. Go by and see a Big Red store today. Wright, Lindsay, and Jennings, I found out, they're a great law firm, but they're also great in the community. And I found out that they also support the Little Rock Zoo. Rex, who knew? And they financially support the zoo events like Wild Wines, which is interesting. Wine at the zoo. That could really get out of hand if you're not careful. And you got Boo at the Zoo, which kicks off this Friday, October 20, and runs through Halloween. One of their attorneys, Jamie Moss, serves as a board member to the Arkansas Zoological Foundation. So thank you, Wright, Lindsay, and Jennings, for your support in the community. You guys do a great job. Crane Automotive, where are my Crane guys? Hey, look at Larry Crane is here today. Larry, so good to have you. We don't get to, let's give it up for Larry. Larry hardly ever gets to come. He and Drew, yeah, listen, to look down and finally see you there. That's great to have you guys. Listen, Larry, we appreciate your support. You support this club and the Northwest Arkansas Touchdown Club, and Drew and all the staff. You guys do a great job. 900 employees from Arkansas right here that you employ, 17 dealerships. We appreciate you and what you do in the community. Thank you for being here. Also, the Democrat Gazette, Wally Hall and Amanda Copley. I will say this, Coach. I don't know if you know Wally Hall. He's the longtime sports editor of the Democrat Gazette. You know of him, okay? Wally puts his head down. Well, Wally today has his daughter, Whitney, and they have a tradition of going to the fair. How many years in a row, Wally? 34 years in a row of going to the state fair. And so what they decided to do, Coach, is that Wally brought Whitney because Whitney's mom, her whole family is from Oklahoma. So she wanted to come here and hear you today. And I asked Wally, I said, wait a minute, so what's the percentage? Is she 50-50 Razorback Sooner? Wally said, no, 60-40 Razorback Sooner. So we'll take that, Whitney. And so nice to have you here today. And Amanda Copley, we got a big group today for our All Arkansas Preps honoree. We appreciate y'all's support. And, of course, we couldn't do it without Simmons Bank today. Adam Mitchell and Chris White. We don't get a chance to have Adam very much, Coach Stoops. These guys getting ready to be a $14 billion bank, and we're so proud of them right out of Pine Bluff. And, by the way, when I was in Alabama this weekend, speaking of Pine Bluff, you know who many say the greatest Crimson Tide player of all time? Many will say? Don Hudson. We don't probably give him enough credit from Pine Bluff. Many will say he's the greatest Bama player of all time, but another great product of Pine Bluff. So go by and try to give some of your business to Simmons Banks. They're great folks, and we appreciate Adam and Chris having you here today. And make sure and tell George we miss him, but we know he's doing big deals. So let's give Simmons Bank and all of our great sponsors a big round of applause. Do want to thank the fine folks here at Embassy Suites for doing such a good job for us. Matt Johnson, who's doing our live stream back in the back. Local Fidelity 6, thank you, Matt. Dwayne Duncan, who does all of our photography. You can always find, Dwayne's even dressed up today. Look at theirs. Wearing a sport coat today. Hey, and guess who's back? He's had his baby. R.J. Hawk is back, everybody. Welcome, R.J. Yeah, had his baby. We asked him to bring the baby to the meeting today, but he didn't do that. But great to have R.J. back. He does social media for us. At LR Touchdown Club is our Twitter account if you want to follow that, or you can go to lrtouchdown.com. Thanks, RJ. Great to have you back. Our amazing check-in ladies back in the back. We could not do the Touchdown Club without you and all you guys who helped set the room. Let's give it up for all of our volunteers who helped set up the Touchdown Club. And a woman who knows where everybody sits in this whole place, the best executive director of any Touchdown Club in America, Debbie Wyman, everybody. Let's give it up. All right. Wally's getting an interview over there. How about that? Just say, forget the meeting. Forget the meeting. Go ahead. Go ahead, Wally. Do I? Go ahead. You're good. You're good. Listen, that's what happens when you're Hall of Fame coach. You just call your own play. You call your own play. His coach didn't trust us to make sure we were going to get that picture. Coach, you can have a few more of those after this meeting. I'm just going to let you know, but that's fine if you want to do that. Hey, at this time, maybe, and I want Coach Stoops to hear, maybe the most unbelievable game of all time, and for our All Arkansas Preps Players of the Week. And when I said players, Amanda, this is the first time we've ever honored two. We're honoring two senior quarterbacks, Little Rock Christian's Jackson Bowersock, and Jackson, that's the right way to say it, right? Okay, I want to make sure I get it right. Basil's mispronounced a lot myself. And Pulaski Academy's Lane Hatcher. And Lane, I think this is like the fourth time in 4 years that you've been honored. But if you missed the game that we're honoring them for, it was one of the highest scoring games in high school history, 86-56. Now, first, I want both you guys to come on up here. Come on up, Jackson. Lane, come on up here. Now, Jackson is wearing the tie. He completed 28 of 40 passes for 413 yards and 8 touchdowns. His 8 touchdowns. Let's give it up. Jackson's 8 touchdowns is a school record for Little Rock Christian. And normally, when you throw for 8 touchdowns, you win the game. But he just happened to be lined up against Lane Hatcher. And these two guys, this is what's great about the story. These guys have been playing against each other since the 6th grade. And they are buddies. And so Lane Hatcher was not going to let Jackson take advantage of him. So Lane goes 36 of 45 for 757 yards and 6 touchdowns. And he runs for 3 touchdowns, so he accounts for 9. Now, his passing yards, 757, was the 3rd highest in national high school history, and it's a new state record. His total yardage, which is 791, is now the national record. So Lane now holds the national record for the most yards by any player in the history of high school football. How about that? Is that not remarkable? Pulaski Academy's 991 yards of total offense is also a new national record. The 13 touchdowns for a PA is a state record. So I love it that both these young men are great young men. We've had a chance to honor Lane before, but how cool is it, when Jackson's throwing his heart out and throws for 8 touchdowns, he still doesn't win, but we can honor them both. So at this time, let's give a big warm welcome to our 2 MVPs, All Arkansas Player of the Week, Lane Hatcher and Jackson Bowersock. Even Coach Stoops is talking about those kind of numbers. Those are outstanding. By the way, 620 yards per game. Pulaski Academy is the #1 offense in America out of 17,000 schools. So I do want to recognize our 2 coaches. The guy who never punts, always does onside kicks, and he's won 6 state championships, and he really loves his kids. Let's welcome Kevin Kelly, everybody. Kevin, stand up. Let's recognize you. And the new coach at Little Rock Christian, we had a chance to meet him. You talk about an intense guy. This guy's going to do great things at Little Rock Christian. Please welcome Eric Koyu. Do you want to welcome Lane's mom and dad, Greg and Lee Hatcher, and Jackson's mom and dad, Paul and Lynette. Let's please stand. Let's give them a round of applause. I know those are some proud parents there. And I think it happened last week. Who was? Just all of it runs together. We had one of our players that brought some of his linemen. Was that last week? I think it was last week. Well, the same thing happened today. I don't know where they are, but we actually have 3 linemen that Lane Hatcher brought along with him. Ford Aguiar, Luke Jones, and Alan Amuamua. Please stand. These are 3 offensive linemen. So look at that. There they are back in the back. I know Luke Jones is going to be a Razorback. We knew that. Yeah, very nice. He's going to be a Razorback. With the coolest name, Alan Amuamua is going to Air Force. And Ford, I just hear you haven't made up your mind yet for the highest bidder. You're going to decide after that, right? Can I say that? Well, it's great to have some of the big guys back in the back. You look at the quarterbacks up front. You guys are back in the back, but we love to have you guys here today. We appreciate y'all being here. Great to honor 2 great teams, 2 good young men, fine young men, and their parents and family. We are honored to do that. Real quick, too, want to recognize at the head table, you see Betsy Broyles-Arnold and Molly Arnold. Of course, Coach Broyles' daughter and granddaughter, head of the Frank and Barbara Broyles Foundation. One of the reasons I reached out to Coach Stoops was to be on the Broyles War Selection Committee, and Coach Stoops agreed to do that. And so Betsy and Molly wanted to come down and have a chance to visit real briefly. Let's welcome them, please, Betsy and Molly. If any of you are struggling with somebody at home, a family member or a friend that's dealing with Alzheimer's or some type of dementia, call Betsy and Molly direct. That's what they do. They're so talented in that area, and that's why it's exciting to be able to help the Broyles War, because all the the funds raised by the Broyles Award goes to the Frank and Barbara Broyles Foundation. So without further ado, we got a big weekend to recap. Rex Nelson, everybody.
Thanks, David. So, Scott Inman is not going to shave his beard until the Razorbacks win another game. I can assure you it is a mere coincidence that Scott has also signed up to be the Park Plaza Santa Claus this year. Just a coincidence. They wanted him for the name value. You know, Coach Stoops, we expect a strong opening today. Previous time we had a former OU coach. Some of you may remember this. You remember Coach Switzer put all of his championship rings on, and he leaned over the podium. Y'all remember this? And said, and they said I couldn't coach. And then he pulled his hands back. He said, ladies, wonder how many carats those are. We're really looking forward to having you today, Coach. Somebody said to me, David, when I came in today, said, you better be funny. Well, I tell you, it's mid-October. I need an open date. I have nothing to offer today but cold, steely-eyed pragmatism. I'm not even going to try a Coach O imitation today. Go Tigers. But we'll start down in Tuscaloosa. 75 yards for Alabama on the first play from scrimmage, and for all practical purposes, the game was over at that point. Alabama 49, Arkansas 9, number one tied 7-0 and 4-0. Hogs fall to 2-4, 0-3 in the conference. Alabama outgained the Hogs 496 to 227. On the ground, it was 308 to 27. Arkansas with 27 yards rushing. Tide averaged 7.8 yards per play. Arkansas averaged 3.2. Alabama, this is not unusual for them. They have now scored on their first play from scrimmage, get this, David, 5 times in the Nick Saban era on the first play from scrimmage. So Arkansas goes to 4-19 all time against number one AP teams. Alabama is, meanwhile, 70-11 when ranked number one. They're 5-0 against Arkansas when ranked number one. Arkansas starts 0-3 in the SEC for the 8th time since joining the conference back in 1992. 11th consecutive loss to Alabama. Losing streak to Power 5 opponents is now at 6 games. I'm moving on. All right, a good memory. Nick Saban last lost to Arkansas when LSU came here, the 2002 Miracle on Markham. How about that? That's a good memory. All right. ASU, we got their coach next week. They're 2-0 in the conference, 3-2 overall. 51-17 rout of Coastal Carolina, which does come to Fayetteville. There's something to look forward to in a few weeks. Coastal Carolina falls to 1-5 overall, 0-3 in the conference. ASU's quarterback, Justice Hanson, who redshirted at OU for a year, I believe, Coach, he threw 5 TD passes. He tied the single-game record. He had already tied against UAPB earlier in the season. Hanson now has 19 touchdown passes in just 5 games. With 6 more, he will break the school record that was set by Freddie Knighton back in 2014. He was 24 of 37 passing for 286 yards. So the Red Wolves off to a good start in conference. Now, there is just one one-loss team left in the state of the 12 college programs, and it's UCA. Bears moved to 5-1 overall, 4-0, come from behind 24-20 victory in Conway over Stephen F. Austin, which is coached by Clint Cock, the former Bear head coach. Stephen F. falls to 2-5 overall, 2-3 in the conference. Hayden Hildebrand, who is the senior quarterback for UCA, threw 3 interceptions after having thrown just 2 total in the first 5 games. But he did lead the Bears on a late come-from-behind drive that ended with a 17-yard touchdown pass to Roman Gordon with just a minute 30 left. It was the first time UCA had trailed in the second half since the season-opening loss to Kansas State, but they get it done, and they continue to be ranked in the top 10 in the country in the FCS. UAPB loses 40-35 at home. It was the second consecutive week to lose to a team that came in winless. Not good. This time it was the homecoming game. The opponent was 0-6, Central State out of Ohio. Third consecutive loss for the Golden Lions. They're 2-5. Now, on to the Great American Conference. We have found out where, David, Arkansas has dominance over Oklahoma. The 6 Arkansas GAC teams go 6-0 against Oklahoma GAC teams over the weekend. So in that area, Division II doing well. Now, get this. I have to look for something, Coach. Henderson's road winning streak is now at 30 games. Southeastern Oklahoma was 6-0, alone in first in the conference, and the Reddies go to Durant and come away with a 21-20 victory. So Henderson, which has won now, this is amazing. It's the longest streak in the NCAA at any division. 30 consecutive road games. They've lost 4 consecutive home games. Go figure. So they're 4-3 overall. 357 of Henderson's 397 yards came through the air. Evan Lassiter, 28 of 46 passing, 316 yards. So we've got Ouachita, SAU, Arkansas Tech all at 5-2. Henderson, Harding, UAM all at 4-3. Thursday night, Ouachita went to Oklahoma. They beat Southern Nazarene 21-14. Nazarene's 3-4. Austin Warford out of Malvern, 15 of 24 passing, 224 yards for Ouachita. 5-2 Arkansas Tech dropped Southwestern Oklahoma to 2-5. 38-21 in Weatherford. Braden Stringer rushes for 111 yards for the Wonder Boys. 5-2 SAU drops East Central Oklahoma to 1-6. 35-28 win at Ada. Barrett Renner passes for 176 yards, and the Mule Riders outgain East Central 217-53 on the ground. 4-3 UAM drops Oklahoma Baptist, Gary's alma mater, to 0-7. Gary, you got to get them going. All right, all right. Baptist Bowl this week. 64-21 UAM in Shawnee. UAM outgained its opponent 590-367. Cole Sears passes for 5 touchdowns for the Boll Weevils, 251 yards. Harding, amazing story here. They started 0-3. They're now 4-3, and I think they have a chance to finish 8-3 the way they're playing. 34-0 shutout of 3-4 Northwestern Oklahoma out at Alva. Harding outrushes the Rangers 408-83. And in Division III, unfortunately, Jim, Hendricks falls to 5-2 overall, 3-2 in conference, 34-10 loss to Berry in Berry, Georgia, and Berry's undefeated at 7-0. All right, on to the SEC. How about LSU? They trail by 20 points in the first half, and then they come back to shock Auburn, this week's Razorback opponent, 27-23. LSU closed it to 23-14 by the half, and then they shut Auburn out in the second half. LSU goes to 5-2 and 2-1. Auburn is 5-2 and 3-1. Auburn had won 4 in a row and seemed to be rolling, but only had 64 yards of offense in the second half. Georgia, they're rolling 7-0, 4-0, 53-28 over Missouri, which falls to 1-5, 0-4 in Athens. Georgia scores 26 unanswered points, and they gain, get this, 696 yards of offense with the Bulldogs. Florida loses at home, second consecutive week. 19-17 this time to Texas A&M. Aggies are 5-2 and 3-1. Gators fall to 3-3, 3-2, lose in their new alligator skin uniforms. Did you see those? Those were awful. A&M had 4 field goals and only 1 touchdown, but they win the game. Mississippi State 4-2, 35-10 victory over BYU in Stark Vegas. Nick Fitzgerald, 241 yards passing. BYU is 1-6. Ole Miss 3-3, 1-2, 57-35 over Vanderbilt. Commodores lose a 4th consecutive. They won 3 straight to start the year, but they're 0-4 in conference. Shea Patterson for Ole Miss passed for 351 yards. And Tennessee, talk about a fan base that is mad right now. Tennessee loses 15-9 in Knoxville to fall to 0-3 in the conference. South Carolina now 3-2 in the conference, and they had a goal line stand at the end to hold off Tennessee. All right. David, I usually don't venture outside of the SEC, as you know, or the Arkansas schools, but the Red River rivalry for all our people out here. In the Cotton Bowl at Dallas, Oklahoma loses a 20-point lead, but gets the winning score, 6:53 left, 59-yard pass from Baker Mayfield to Mark Andrews. Texas had taken its first lead just 68 seconds earlier, so that lead didn't last long. It was the first Texas OU game with new head coaches on both sidelines since Bud Wilkinson was in his first year at OU, and Wilkinson lost his opener, by the way. So Oklahoma's 5-1 overall, 2-1 in the conference. Texas 3-3, 2-1. All right, this week, Auburn and Arkansas, Tennessee at Alabama, Kentucky at Mississippi State, LSU at Ole Miss, and Idaho at Missouri. Now, in Arkansas, lots of games. Louisiana Lafayette comes to Arkansas State on Thursday. And then on Saturday, in addition to the game in Fayetteville, Oklahoma Baptist at Ouachita, Southeastern Oklahoma at SAU, East Central Oklahoma at Henderson, Southwestern Oklahoma at Harding, Northwestern Oklahoma at Arkansas Tech, Southern Nazarene at UAM, all the GACs are home, and Texas Wesleyan at Line. So Fayetteville, Jonesboro, Arkadelphia, Magnolia, Searcy, Russellville, Monticello, and Batesville. No excuses. Get out and see a college football game. Thank you, everybody.
I did want to say real quick, I wanted to show a picture, and I know we probably can't see that, Matt, but that's a picture of Wes Sutton, who's one of our board members, that brought to Betsy Broyles today. That is a picture of Betsy and her sister with Billy Graham. Was that the day of the 69 shootout? The day of the game. The dog, her dog bit Billy Graham's son, and Coach Broyles said, "We're not going to be able to win now, Betsy. How did you let that happen?" But I just thought that, so he found, I just want to thank Wes Sutton for finding these pictures and getting them to her. By the way, out of curiosity, if you think Arkansas is going to defeat Auburn this weekend, raise your hand. Just want you to see. For those that don't think that Arkansas is going to, think Auburn's going to win, raise your hand. If you are an Oklahoma fan, and that's why you're here, I want you to stand and let's welcome these Sooner fans. Stand up real quick. If you're a Sooner fan, represent yourself. Let's welcome these folks. Even Coach Stoops gives a standing ovation. Look at there. Before Jim introduces Coach, I did want to say one of the reasons I invited Coach was I'd already asked him to serve on the committee, the Broyles Award committee. Do you know that no other head coach in the last 21 years of the Broyles Award has more Broyles Award winners than Bob Stoops? He's actually had 5 altogether finalists. He had Brent Venables. Before Brent won last year at Clemson, he was a finalist at Oklahoma. Chuck Long was a finalist for the Broyles Award at Oklahoma. Kevin Wilson won the Broyles Award. Mark Mangino, who ended up being a national head coach of the year at Kansas. And, of course, the current head coach, Lincoln Riley, won the Broyles Award. How cool was it, Coach, for us, for the Broyles Award, that Tom Herman and Lincoln Riley, both Broyles Award winners back-to-back, coaching against each other. But thank you so much for being willing to serve on the committee. We appreciate that. Nobody's more qualified, and it's great to have you and Coach Spurrier join the same year on the Broyles Award committee. So without further doubt, Jim, will you come up and give a formal introduction? Jim Rasco, everybody.
Okay, the first time I found Bob Stoops in the news was December 16, 1975. Bob was a 15-year-old 10th grader playing basketball for Cardinal Mooney High School in Youngstown, Ohio. That night he had 1 field goal and 1 for 1 from the foul line for 3 points and lost to Salem High. Remember that game, Coach? Exactly 1 year later, I found that Bob had moved into the starting lineup. He was listed as a 5'11 junior and was averaging in double figures for the Cardinals. By the way, one of Bob's teammates was also a junior named Vince Pellini. Vince's younger brother, Bo Pellini, later followed the career of all the Stoops brothers by becoming a college football coach. Okay, now let's jump to football. How about, we got a picture on this on the big board. Let's jump to football. How about September 16, 1977? It's East Liverpool versus Cardinal Mooney High. The split end for Mooney, wearing number 80. He's making the tackle way over to the right side. He played both ways. He's weighing 170 pounds is Bob Stoops. Stoops catches touchdown passes of 27, 34, and 25 yards to lead his team to a 40-6 victory. Bet you do remember that one, don't you? 3 to, all right. All right, at the end of the season, Bob Stoops is named first team All-District, second team All-State. Now here's a quote from a newspaper dated February 15, 1978. The University of Iowa announces the signing of Bobby Stoops, 6 foot, 175-pound wide receiver and defensive back out of Cardinal Mooney High School in Youngstown, Ohio, where his dad, Ron, has been a longtime assistant coach. Stoops was an all-stater, a sprinter in track, led his team in pass receiving 2 years, played both ways, and will be a defensive back at Iowa. Under Coach Hayden Fry, Stoops was a 4-year starter for the Hawkeyes. In 1979, he was one of only 2 Iowa freshmen that received honorable mention on the Big Ten All-Conference list. As a junior in 1981, Stoops was one of only 2 underclassmen that started for Iowa's defensive unit that year. That year, the Hawkeyes won the Big Ten and played in the Rose Bowl on January 1, 1982. As a senior in the fall of 1982, strong safety Stoops was a captain of the team. He was named MVP of his team and selected first team All-Big Ten. Closed out his playing career as Iowa beat Tennessee 28-22 in the Peach Bowl on December 31, 1982. One last note on his college career. As you've seen in the photos that have been shown on the big screen, Bobby wore number 41 during his 4 years at Iowa. Bobby's younger brothers, Mike and Mark, not only followed him at Iowa, but both wore number 41, and both followed their big brother as starters as defensive backs under Coach Hayden Fry. After graduation from Iowa, as is the case with most great college coaches, Bob paid his dues as an assistant coach for the next 16 years. First 5 years at his alma mater under his coach Hayden Fry. 1 year at Kent State under Dick Crum. 7 years at Kansas State under Bill Snyder, who had been a coordinator at Iowa during the time Bob was a player there. Lastly, 3 years at Florida, serving as defensive coordinator and assistant head coach under our guest speaker of August the 28th, Steve Spurrier. The Florida stint included a national championship in 1996. After serving under Spurrier, Bob Stoops was named the head coach of the Oklahoma Sooners in 1999. As all of you know, he coached the Sooners for 18 seasons, won 190 games, and took the Sooners to 18 straight bowl games. I know you'd rather listen to Coach Stoops than have me try to list all of his awards, but allow me time to mention just a couple of games from the 1990 season, which was his second year as a head coach. Oklahoma started the 1990 season ranked number 20 in the country. Sooners received no special attention during September as they beat UTEP, Arkansas State, Rice, and Kansas. None of the experts expected Oklahoma to handle a brutal October schedule that included Texas, Kansas State, and Nebraska. The Sooners not only beat those 3 teams, they embarrassed them. October the 7th, Oklahoma 63, number 11 ranked Texas 14. October 14, Oklahoma 41, number 2 ranked Kansas State 31. October the 28th, Oklahoma 31, number 1 ranked Nebraska 14. The Sooners finished the regular season with a perfect record of 12-0. On December the 2nd, the Sooners won the Big 12 title game by defeating Kansas State 27-24. Then on January the 3rd in the Orange Bowl, number 1 Oklahoma defeated number 2 Florida State in the Bowl Championship Series National Championship game. In closing, now we got to put this on the big screen, and since the people at the front table, I've shown most of them, but Coach Stoops and Basil haven't seen it. Here you go, Coach. This is what's coming up on the screen.
I remember that.
I want to read the caption under this now. Resting comfortably in the arms of Peach Bowl royalty, Iowa senior defensive back Bobby Stoops was in good hands before today's Peach Bowl battle between Iowa and Tennessee. What a way to close out your college career. Okay, here's the recently retired head coach of the Oklahoma Sooners, former Iowa Hawkeye number 41, Bob Stoops.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And Jim, I have to admit, that is the most complete introduction that I have ever received. And now I have nothing more to talk about because really, no, that was really special. Where'd you find that picture? Iowa City's paper. Yeah, I sure remember that day. But listen, it's great to be here. I would first start off with Betsy and Molly telling you It's great to be here in your company, and our respects from the University of Oklahoma to you and your family. And Coach Broyles was one of the all-time best. I always looked up to him as a role model. Though I never coached with him, sure knew of him and been around him some through Coach Spurrier. I had bumped into Coach Broyles on a few different occasions and always respected, admired him, and he stood for everything that's positive about our profession. And sadly, I was telling you earlier, I almost took Coach out one day. I was on the golf course with Coach Spurrier, and we had a couple of groups. I was following Coach Broyles, Coach Spurrier, and whoever else was up with them, and I'm in the next group, and I got about a 210-yard shot up to the green and pull out my 5 medal, and they left the green, and they're going to their carts. So I figure I'm clean to go. Well, I pulled it left right where they were, and it rattles around a tree and drops right next to Coach Broyles. I'm like, oh, no. So I had to go up and apologize to him. And you know Coach Broyles, he was laughing about it. He didn't care. But anyway, Coach Spurrier still tells that story whenever we talk about Coach Broyles. He said, Bobby, you remember when you almost took him out? You know, so, yeah, I said, I remember. Yeah, but got a special introduction for you guys. Starting quarterback in the Orange Bowl who beat Oklahoma, Ron Calcagni is here. Let's hear it. Stand up, Ron. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Ron is a great friend, grew up in Youngstown. We grew up in the same town. Ron, a little bit older than me, remember following him through his high school career at Cheney High School, and then he's on here to Arkansas. Yeah. 41? Oh, did you? All right. No, you can't play quarterback with 41 on. So, but Ron was also on our staff our first couple of years at Oklahoma as we got started, and on our national championship staff. So he's here teaching and coaching at a middle school, right, or a grade school here, just about 20, 30 minutes out of town. So it's great to see you, Ron. Thanks for coming over to say hi. Greg Hatcher, thanks for picking me up and giving me a lift today. Chris Peterson, longtime friend, and Tracy, his wife. Great to see you. Chris rode down with me today, so we got to catch up. Spent about 8 years together at Kansas State before Chris moved on maybe to Nebraska ahead of me, but longtime friends, and great to see you guys. I would want to say congratulations to Lane and Jackson. Love hearing those statistics. Those are Baker Mayfield, better than Baker Mayfield statistics. So, and to Kevin and Eric, too, coaching them up. You guys do a great job of followed your teams, and love what you do, you know, and love the way you do spread the ball around and what you're able to do. But congratulations to you. Great to be here with great, passionate college football fans. For a minute there, I thought I was at an Alabama touchdown club, not the Arkansas touchdown club. But yeah, but some facts don't need talked about. So yeah, it's just. But really, you know, I know the passion, and I would say that being here in Arkansas, I you know, have some patience. You know, I think these guys do an excellent job, and some, you know, what isn't always talked about, and I brought it up on the radio. Sometimes too, you know, you get some key injuries in a season, and it's easy to say, oh, next guy up. Well, there's a reason that next guy is number 2. You know, so just be careful that sometimes you get caught unlucky with some injuries that don't really help you either. And but I believe in these guys and believe they'll get things straightened away, and hopefully they will, you know, for all of you and as they go. My journey, I know, you know, was just, you know, talked about, but was very fortunate, you know, to grow up in a family. I was around a father who all I was around my whole life was sports. So he was 30 years at the same high school with the same head coach. They won a bunch of state championships. My father ran the defense. The head coach ran the offense, and they didn't get in each other's way. They were good friends and had a great career. But But so I was on the field in the locker room constantly through the fall, summer. And then, at basketball season, my father always score kept for the basketball team to make like high school coaches or teachers do, make a few extra bucks. Was also refereed basketball games on the weekends. So all basketball season, where was I? On a court. Then spring and summer, my dad was the head baseball coach, and in the summer, he played baseball. So where was I all spring? I was on a baseball diamond. Bat boy or, in the car going with them. Again, one of 6 kids, my mother was looking to, hey, can you take anybody? But truthfully, 6 kids in a 3-bedroom, probably 1,000-square-foot home. And, but fortunately, my dad wasn't a guy that was going to stop at a joint on the way home or anything like that. So it didn't matter what age we were, brothers, sisters, whoever wanted to go, jump in the car with him and go to his baseball game. Now, he'd have to get mad at us coming, off the field if we got to fighting each other on the bench. But we were always open to go. So, like I tell everyone, it's without my father ever pushing sports on us, it just became part of us. He never forced us to do any of it, but that's all we knew. I've been asked many times, from TV people, well, that question, if you weren't a coach, what would you be doing? I always say that's what I'd be doing. I'd be coaching. There is nothing else for me. And just because that's all I knew was competition, being on the diamond, court, field, whatever it was. And oddly, not oddly, but, all my brothers, my oldest brothers is coaching at Youngstown State with Bo Pelini, a longtime high school coach. Last 8 years or 9 years he's been at Youngstown State. My brother Mike has been with us at Oklahoma, and my brother Mark, the head coach at Kentucky. And but all of us ended up with a defensive background, which was what my father did. So it's just kind of ironic how it all kind of happened, and we've all fallen into the same profession, and it's been great for us. Oddly, my 2 sisters did not marry football coaches, so they wanted nothing to do with it. But really a great way to grow up, and got the biggest break of my life getting a chance to play at Iowa. It was I was one of those, wasn't big enough, wasn't fast enough. Some reason Iowa gave me a chance. Probably because at the time Bob Cummings was the head football coach, and he's a Youngstown guy from where I was from. Knew my father, played ball with my father some, so he gave me the chance. And and biggest break of my life. Some other schools, some other mid-level schools gave me scholarship offers, but didn't have many, and got that chance. And as soon as Iowa offered, that's where I was going. I'm going to play in the Big Ten. I want to play as big a level as I can. Well, I get there in the first year, they won't even let me dress in the locker room where the other were for the games. I had to dress in the other locker room and walk over to the game. So I was being red-shirted and whatever, that crew. Well, that group of coaches ended up being fired at the end of that season, and Hayden Fry comes in. The next big break of my life is Hayden Fry and that group of coaches came in. And, my assistant coaches at the time are not just Hayden Fry. Then the assistants are like Barry Alvarez, longtime. He's a longtime head coach at Wisconsin and AD. Bill Snyder was one of my assistant coaches. Dan McCarney, longtime Iowa State head coach. Kirk Ferentz, current head coach at Iowa. But these are all guys that were my assistant coaches. So I was under the best guys you could possibly want to be around. And fortunately, I stayed. I went home after that first year, and I was talking around Thanksgiving. I went home for Thanksgiving. I had it in my mind I was going to transfer. I was going to quit Iowa and transfer and go somewhere else. As you know, you talk about some tough love. Well, I had brought it up to a couple of people, and my dad didn't say anything. And then I brought it up another time, and then here it is, maybe the 4th time. I got a neighbor comes down. I'm out helping my father clean up the yard, and he's doing some yard work, and I'm helping him. And neighbor comes by, and I bring it up again. And he waits for the neighbor to leave. Then he looks at me. He says, "You know what? You're going to end up like all these other chicken shits around here. Go off to school, come back, and don't amount to blank," and walked away. I was like, ooh, that didn't go good, you know, so I was like, I guess I'm not transferring. You know, I guess I said, and so basically it's to parents out there and to young people, a little bit of tough love goes a long way, and not everything is going to be easy. And that was his point. You need to stand up and fight for something at some point, and you know, and go earn it. And fortunately, I did. You know, you heard, you know, what was said before. The next year, I end up starting the next 4 years, have a great career and a great experience at Iowa. And I'm sure, of course, I'm not the head coach at Oklahoma without that entire experience. So, you know, for the young people that are out there, you got to fight through things and find your way and make your way. And it's not ever going to be that easy, you know. So, but again, very, very fortunate. And then after that, of course, I hung around for 5 years as a GA, volunteer assistant, not making any money. But, I mean, by the end of the month, I'd have to go to Barry Alvarez or Bernie Wyatt was my man. He said, Coach, I've got one more week to go. I got no money. He slipped me $100 to get me through the week, and I'd pay him back as soon as my check came through the next month. And but, you know, my parents never thought I was going to make a dime. I was 28 before I got my first full-time job at Kent. And Dick Crum gave me a chance at Kent. I was there 9 months, and which was close to home. It's funny how God works. I lost my father that year. I had been gone for 10 years, left home to go to Iowa at 17 years old. And only person to have left home at that time. And anyway, I'm gone 10 years, and oddly, my first job is at Kent, Ohio, 45 minutes from my home. That year, my dad passes away at 54 years old. But it was like I was sent home after being gone so long to be home for a while, you know, to be around. So I always felt fortunate for that 9 months to have gotten home. Because soon after that, and I say that too for all the men in here and women, be checked up, and my father was still playing fast pitch softball, thin, still could beat out a ground ball to first base, but he hadn't, you know, it wasn't a day of cardio and getting checked and all that, and that's back in '88. So use the medicine and the doctors that are out there and get yourself checked. But anyway, so after Kent, you know, I end up, and let me go back to the Iowa story. We had talked about 3 brothers all played at Iowa. All of us wore 41. My parents were sitting watching my brother Mark play, the youngest, at a game in Michigan. And the woman that was sitting with her husband in front of my parents from Michigan hit her husband, and she said, "Is that 41 ever going to leave?" She said, she goes, "He's been here forever." And it's a true story. And my mother tapped her and said, "Well, there's been 3 of them over 10 years." So, but that was pretty funny. She got a kick out of that. But anyway, so after Kent, got again a first coaching big break is Bill Snyder, who I was with at Iowa, of course, played there and was a GA for. Gets the job at Kansas State and gives me an opportunity to coach the defensive backs at Kansas State. And what a great growing and learning experience going to Kansas State. One of the most, the program at the time was in as horrible shape as anyone could possibly imagine. And I think at the time, you know, you were allowed 85 scholarships. We might have had 50, 55 guys on scholarship. It's just awful. We remember going to spring practice, and we had 4 D linemen, ends and D linemen total. So and you play 4, right? And we had 4 guys. And 2 of them were non-scholarship guys and 2 scholarship guys. So now how do you practice? So we're going through practice team. We'd have to, after like 8 plays, let's take a break, give them some water, take a knee. All right, buddy, you ready? All right, here we go. And we go back to practice. And that's truly how it was. And but little by little, Coach Snyder, with his attention to detail, and you know, and another lesson, I think so many times, everyone there, what I remember most with Bill Snyder and that crew when we started at Kansas State, the whole world tried to convince us it could not be changed. You cannot win here. You will not win here. It can't have, da-da-da-da-da. It's all you heard. And Coach Snyder never listened to it, his determination and grit. And you know what else? And I was young, and fortunately I came being from Iowa. Now, when we arrived at Iowa, we had 18 straight losing seasons. And as was said, my third year, we were in the Big Ten Championship and in the Rose Bowl. So point being, at Iowa, we changed that too, and Bill Snyder was part of that. And we never for a minute thought we wouldn't win. And little by little by little, within, Chris, was it our fourth or fifth year? We were, fifth year, we were in a bowl game. And from then on, of course, Kansas State's been a steady, good, strong program, and has won the Big 10 or Big 12 before, and won plenty of bowl games, and has really done a great job. But you know, never letting that, and that's where I would say, even, you know, no matter where you're at, you always got an opportunity, and our, you know, our ability to win at Iowa, I felt affected us and our attitude there at Kansas State that we would get it done. So it was a great learning experience being on the ground floor at a program like Kansas State and having a chance to build it. And then fortunately, after 7 years there, I got a call out of the blue. Didn't know Coach Steve Spurrier from the Man in the Moon. I didn't know him at all, but he called and wanted to talk about his defensive coordinator job. I wasn't one of those guys who's on the phone looking for a job, but he called. In fact, that same year, I remember watching them in my basement at Manhattan, Kansas, with my wife around Thanksgiving, or it might have been the SEC championship game. And I said to my wife, I go, that guy has really got it going on there at Florida. So I don't know them, but man, they're fun to watch, and boy, are they good. So here it is, probably a month and a half, 2 months later, late February. There's a message on my answering machine. My wife's a Mary Kay national director at the time, and he says, and her voicemail was about Mary Kay and leaving a message. And Steve Spurrier starts laughing. He says, "Well, Carol, I don't need any Mary Kay products, but I would like to talk to Bobby." And by the way, this is Steve Spurrier. So my wife's playing her messages before we can talk. You know, you sit down at the table after, you know, we need to talk a little bit. She says, "Well, let me get through my messages and then we'll talk." And then she goes, that's Steve Spurrier. I said, "Yeah." So that's why we got to talk. So I even him-hawed around about it. You know, Coach and I talked for about 3 days, and then my wife finally just said, "You swear you got to listen to your wives too." She says, "Well," she says, "you do what you want to do, but if you don't take that job, you need your head examined." And she was right, you know, at the time. But anyway, so I was fortunate to walk into a great situation, a great team that had just played for the national championship the year before, but got beat bad by Nebraska. And Coach Spurrier liked the idea that we had been competing against Nebraska at Kansas State and knew not how to play them, but, you know, we're familiar with them. And so anyway, we get to talk, and he wants to offer me the job, and we both kind of say, "Well, don't you think we might ought to meet each other before I accept the job?" He goes, "You know, that's a good idea. So I fly down with my wife. We meet, and of course it's great, and he's got a great situation down there. And luckily, you know, I was accepted the job, and the next year we, you know, win the national championship. Never around a more polar opposite people than Bill Snyder to Steve Spurrier. You know, just from reading and seeing them, right? I mean, the craziest thing, I remember one of my early talks. First of all, I'm only there a few weeks, and we go out to spring practice. And the first scrimmage, I mean, we get out there, and they got Danny Werfel, Heisman Trophy winner at quarterback. They got Fred Taylor, who's been a Pro Bowl NFL guy, at running back. They got Riedel Anthony and Ike Hilliard split wide, both NFL receivers, and Jaquez Green in the slot. All of them, all SEC guys. And, well, they go up and down the field on me. Boom, 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 touchdown. He goes, "All right, let's go the other way, spin it around." And they go up and down the field again. He says, "All right, turn it around again, let's go the other way." Touchdown. Like the first 4 times, he go up and down the field, touchdowns. And he yells out at me, he says, "Hey, Stoopsy, we going to be able to force a punt this year?" True. I was so mad. I was like, you got to be kidding me. And then we're walking in the locker room after practice, and I'm steaming. You know, I'm just like, geez. He says, don't worry about it, Bobby. He says, you're not going to see anybody like us the rest of the year. I was like, thank goodness. I was like, wow. But he did taught me I needed to put a few more coverages in, and I better adjust a few things to what I've been doing. And but just the greatest stories. We're getting ready probably a week before or 2 weeks before our first game that year, and God, we can't punt the ball from here across the room. And he says, we're in a staff meeting. He says, yeah. He says, we're pretty good everywhere. We don't have much of a punter because bad, but don't worry, we won't be punting much. It'll be all right. And he was right. We didn't punt much at all. But truly, what I learned there too is how to really embrace the game. I never been around a guy that was more excited for Saturday or who could not wait for Saturday to get there and to go out and compete and to play. And he really rubbed that off on his assistants and the players. You know, just the competitiveness and to really embrace and look forward to the challenge of it. And that's something coming to then, of course, there the next couple of years. And then something I brought to Oklahoma was tried to bring that attitude always and to have it rub off on the coaches and players to really embrace the competitiveness and the toughness of the game and to look forward to it. And so fortunately, I get my opportunity after 3 years there to be the head coach at Oklahoma. Oddly, the same week that I'm interviewing within a day of each other, Oklahoma is going to interview me, and then Iowa wants to interview me. So actually, I'm at the beach with Coach Spurrier when I get both calls. I don't have a suit or anything. I got to find a store on the beach, get a coat and tie, and I've got these 2 interviews the next 2 days. Well, and Coach and I were talking about it. He goes, Bobby, you'll probably have a good chance to get that Iowa job, your alma mater, but I bet Oklahoma ends up hiring a current head coach. Well, it happened just the opposite. My alma mater didn't want me, but Oklahoma did. So fortunately, I get, that's, what a great opportunity. I felt at the time, at that time, if you remember back, you may not, but because it's been a long time, we had 5 straight losing years there through the Schnellenberger and Blake era. And the reputation in our mood around campus, the perception of ourselves on campus, everything about us, I was shocked at how down we were when I got there. And I know why I had all my interviews were off campus. Because when I got to campus, I couldn't believe the shape of our program. But fortunately, I had a great president, David Boren, and great athletic director, Joe Castiglione, who hired me, gave me an opportunity, and immediately went to work on improving our situation, improving our locker room. That's how it was. Is Keith Jackson in here, by the way?
He could not. He was supposed to be here.
Because what I was getting at is above the locker room, big saying in our locker room and around our place is Sooner Magic. How we make things happen late in games to win games when really it shouldn't happen that way. And Keith was part of one of them with the big touchdown in one of those plays. But above in the locker room, it was SOO and a faded out N and nothing else. And MAG, a little bit of the I and nothing else. And I said to the AD, I said, Joe, I go, that's what you got right now. I said, we got to change it. I said, how we look at ourselves matters. I want my guys coming in here and not seeing that. I want to see Sooner Magic. I want to see the locker room be as good as it can be. And I'm not waiting for 2 years of fundraising. Get done what we can get done. And they did. They did everything they could right off the bat. And fortunately, I had a bunch of young players that were sick and tired of getting beat up and told they weren't worth anything. So they accepted what we were giving them. We had to learn how to work. I mean, to tell you, the first time we went to work them out, Smitty's been with me all 18 years. We went to work them out. They couldn't get through the warm-up, half of them, throwing up, having trouble. I'm like, you got to be kidding me. So we went to work right away, and the guys really accepted it. And in our first year, we ended up 7-4 and lost in the bowl game to Ole Miss. But I remember one of the key, everyone, and then the following year, of course, we go undefeated, win the national championship in 2000. And everyone talks about so many games that year, and we went through 3 of those games, which was a great run for us. But one of the best wins that I feel really changed us was the first year, homecoming. We played Texas A&M. And Texas A&M, R.C. Slocum at the time was the head coach. The previous probably 3-4 years been beating the living heck out of Oklahoma. I mean bad scores. And it made me mad just going back and looking at them. And then hits homecoming. We're driving. How about we start the day off? We're coming from Oklahoma City, 30, 40-minute drive into the game for homecoming. Our bus breaks down a block from the hotel. So we got to pile 40 guys on a bus with 40 other guys, or whatever it was. So we're sitting all over each other, standing, sitting on laps and whatever. We roll the one bus onto campus, and we beat the heck out of them. A homecoming, we win, 55-7, or we immediately turned the table. And that, to me, is when we finally said, all right, we're turning the corner here, and we're not going to be getting the heck kicked out of us anymore, and we're starting to get somewhere with these guys. And to me, that was the biggest turning point when that homecoming game. We got lucky, too. Now, we had a great fake punt. And then how about I send out the field goal team for a fake field goal? Both tight ends flare out, the backs go out, the kicker's going to swipe the ball, and there's a nice clean seam right down the middle. I told everyone but the kicker. Oh, no. You believe that? Patrick Fletcher, my little backup quarterback, scrappiest little guy, he's the holder. There's no one down the middle. Well, my man takes off, fights, scratches, leans that ball a half a football over the first down. We got the first down and end up scoring the next series. So you got to get lucky once in a while, too. When you're not good, you got to be lucky or not smart. Like I said, I thought everyone had it, but I didn't tell the kicker. Yeah, but anyway, that was a key win. But fortunately, through the years, I've been very lucky. The 2000 year winning the national championship, we played for it 3 other times. I really wish we would have not won it the first time, played for it earlier the first 3 times, and then win it. You're a lot more popular than when you win it right away and don't win it again. Once you win it the first time, everyone's, and the other yard, they're going to win it again. I even thought that. In fact, I was at a Christmas party with Coach Switzer, and we were talking, and he was talking to me about the 3 he won, but the 3 he lost. And I looked at him, and this was right after we won the 2000 national championship. He goes, so I go, you mean you lost 3 of them? He looked at me like, you young whatever, you think you're going to win every one of them? And then I found out you don't win every one of them. So, but anyway, still very blessed to have won the championships, coached the great players, had a lot of great assistant coaches, many of them who have been here for the Broyles Award. And, I've been fortunate, too. I've had the same athletic director and same president all 18 and a half years. That doesn't happen very often either, and I've always appreciated their support and how they've helped push our program forward, and have had a ton of fun, and then obviously then everyone gets to, well, how come you're not still there, or what's happened? And then I always say, why does something have to happen? Or something negative to take control of your life and do what you want to do? And the bottom line was, I just felt it was the right time for me. I wanted my own time. I want to be in charge of my own time, my own space, and what I'm doing. I'm not afraid of the future and what's there. I look forward to it. By no means do I intend to coach at the college level or pro level. If that was my intention, I would have said so. I wouldn't have said to Oklahoma, I'm retiring from coaching here and left it open that way. I would have said then I will see what comes next. That's not me, so I've loved it. I feel like the last 30 years, it's like I never worked, but also there's a great time commitment there, and I never wanted to cheat the time and the commitment it takes to win at that level. And so just felt is the right time for me. I felt also the right guy was in place to take it over. Lincoln Riley's got a great, great future. All right, I had an experienced, good team that could handle it. That after they thought about it, kids in the team meeting room gave me a standing ovation, hugged me, and they were like, "Yeah, we're fine, Coach. We're all still here. All my coaches are still here." They got confidence in Coach Riley, and they're like, "You know what? This is okay." You know, so it's worked out really well. I believe you know, Oklahoma's not going to miss a step, and you know, it's fortunate for me too. All the coaches are familiar with me, so if I'm around here and there, it isn't strange, or it isn't like I have to go disappear somewhere. So it's really all good. I know, again, different for people that how could you walk away from it? Well, you know, I want to control the rest of my life the way I want to do it, and I'm not afraid of what's out there. And I also have a lot of faith. I'm a very spiritual person, and believe until you open yourself up to something, you don't know what's there, you know, for you to receive it. So we'll see what comes my way, and again, you know, whatever it is, I'll embrace it and keep moving and still enjoy the rest of my life. But from there, I'll open it up for some maybe a few topics we haven't touched on that you guys want to talk about.
Well, it's just we don't have much time. Real quick, I'm going to ask the first one, Coach. Hayden Fry, you mentioned we talked about the Broyles Award. Coach Hayden Fry. That's right.
Was
Broyles, yeah. What's something you can tell us about? There's a connection. Hayden Fry and then of course Barry Switzer. A couple anything that off the top of your head for both those guys.
You know what? What sticks out to me for both of them, swagger, attitude, a presence. Coach Fry brought that. You know, he walked into a place, Iowa, that had 18 straight losing years. And he, you know, Hayden Fry, right? Got the glasses on inside, white pants. I mean, his big Texas persona. He just exuded confidence. And so does Coach Switzer. I mean, there's not a better guy to be around than Coach Switzer. I'm sure a lot of you out there know him. He is the best. And you talk like same thing about exuding confidence and a swagger. His team's, you know, he's all about it. We still show a little video of he's in there talking to the team. They're mad. Championships. All these other teams talk about championships. Damn, Oklahoma invented it. You know, whatever. So we got it on tape. We show it to the guys, and it's quoted on our wall. You know? So.
Hey, Coach, I wanted to ask you about the time you get to spend with your family, because I read somewhere where you came home from a recruiting trip and your son said, "There's Bob Stoops."
He was being a wise, you know what, but I was gone a week recruiting, so it's about 6 in the evening, and I got home on a Friday to host recruits that weekend, and so I didn't have a key to the house, so I'm ringing the doorbell, and I ring the doorbell, and my kids and my wife Carol are all sitting down eating. So there's Carol, Mackie, Drake, and Isaac. Well, Isaac got his hat on backwards and all ruffled. He's like 5. He opens the door and looks at me, turns to everybody. "Hey, everybody, Bob Stoops is here." Yeah. Yeah. And it's really kind of that way of, you know, Chris and Tracy, Ron, people who know me. That's where, too, that it shouldn't surprise. I don't have to have this. And it's funny, I don't look at myself that way. So it's almost like it's two different personas. Who I am off the field or away from the office, and who I have to be at the office and on the field. And that's kind of Bob Stoops. And people that know me from Iowa, or my wife calls me anyone else, I'm Bobby to everybody else. She even said to me, "When did you become Bob Stoops?" You know what? Who is that guy? And I said, "Well, he's the guy that got to go to the office and win a game." So.
All right, everybody. Hey, let's give it up for Bob Stoops, everybody. Oklahoma. Thanks, Coach. Thanks for being here. Blake Anderson next week. If you've got your ticket to have your picture made with Coach Stoops, come up. If you don't have a ticket, if we can get you in after those other folks, we'll try and do that. Thanks for being here, everybody.
David or Gary. Get Gary to shoot it. I'm not going
Can we do a picture real quick? Dwayne, the picture.
And then we'll get out of the way.
Tell you what, John, why don't you get this? You want to do this? Here, let's go. Who wants to get one real quick? John, I'll go ahead and get it real quick. 1, 2, 3. Got it.
Jim, thank you.